Hello and welcome back to an episode of Bantz Lawrencia. How are you all doing? If you're doing great. For today's episode, I want to bring you updates on Natasha's sexual harassment allegations against Goodwill Akpabio, the Senate President. Now, for some of you who don't know, let me just give you a recap. We're just sitting there minding our business, and a video surfaced online where Senator Natasha was trying to kind of speak up in the House of Assembly, or is it House of Assembly or wherever. She was trying to make a point, and then the Senate President, Goodwill Akpabio, told her to go to her seat before she can make a point. Now, before this incident, maybe a day before or even that morning, I don't know when it happened, they kind of changed seating arrangements, and according to the story, they told Natasha where to sit. The clerk told Natasha, gave her her new seat, basically telling her she has to move from where she was sitting to a new seat. Natasha didn't like that, and she refused to go to the new seat that was allocated to her. Now, before this, people have been jumping from APC, PDP, Labour Party, back to APC and all that. You know, Nigerian politicians, being who they are, they always go to where the power is. So a lot of people they come from PDP to APC, even Labour parties, some of the Labour Party senators, they come to APC. So the sitting arrangements need to be kind of reshuffled. So when that was done, Senator Natasha did not want to go to her newly allocated seat. And then the Senate President, Goodwill Akpabio, told her, if you don't go to your new seat, there's no way you can address the House. And according to their legislation or their rules and regulations, that was how it is done. If you're allocated a seat, you have to be on your new seat to kind of make a point or make a statement. So Natasha kind of triggered, there was this thing, they said if you trigger that, you can speak wherever you're standing. But Goodwill Akpabio was refusing to acknowledge Senator Natasha. He was like, go to your seat before I can acknowledge what you're saying. Senator Natasha kind of, lost it basically. She started screaming, saying that she's been marginalized. She made a whole lot of accusations during that video. It was an outburst, and people saw that as an outburst. They said, Natasha, listen, we understand that you're new to this whole Senate sitting arrangement or something, but if you're being allocated a new seat, regardless of your grievances, you have to go to your new seat to make a point. Senator Natasha, finding out or realizing that things were not going her way, she started throwing she threw sexual harassment and allegations into the whole mix. She said that the reason why she had that outburst was because Goodwill Akpabio, which is the Senate President, kind of has been harassing her sexually. She said there was a time, about 2 years ago, she said herself and her husband, because Senator Natasha's husband and Goodwill Akpabio were very good friends. According to Natasha, Goodwill Akpabio invited her and her husband to his house. His wife was there. They were kind of showing them around during that process. When the husband, went to take a call, probably Akpabio's wife is in the kitchen preparing something, nobody knows. But according to Natasha, she was left alone with Akpabio, and he kind of made advances. He said, oh, you can come back to this house and we'll do certain things. I mean, listen, that was her allegation. So she said since she kind of refused his advances, that Akpabio pulled her out of, there was this diaspora committee that she was chairing at that point. She said that Senator Akpabio took her out of that position and gave it to somebody else. So she said ever since then, maybe trips that they used to go to, or she felt that it could have benefited our community, that Akpabio doesn't take her to those trips. So she said that was one of the reasons why she had it. She was screaming at him because she was tired of the whole I don't even know what to call it, but Natasha said she was tired. So she started granting interviews. People said, okay, if Akpabio had made advances, if Akpabio had said something to you, do you have evidence? Natasha said she had evidence. She has, a lot of evidence that she's going to go to court. So at this point, she hadn't filed anything in court, but she was just going to media houses. She went to Arise News to accuse Akpabio. Before you could say Jack, Akpabio's wife sued because, according to Senator Natasha, the incident happened in their home. So Akpabio's wife sued Senator Natasha for defamation, because according to her, she was there and nothing like that happened, and if something had happened, she should have come to her. Anyway, these are two cases. So Akpabio wasn't suing, the wife was suing. Senator Natasha eventually kind of sued, or I don't even know, she sued. So we're just thinking, okay, Natasha, I even made a video about this whole thing. I said, listen, this couldn't have gotten to the level that it has gotten to. If somebody who is your husband's very good friend made advances at you, and I'm very sure that if he's your husband's friend at some point you're going to be friends with the wife. So this could have been settled within the family. You could have told your husband that I don't like the way your friend is talking to me, or I don't like the way, or you could say something to the wife. Maybe not the wife, but tell your husband, so that he could, man to man, he could talk to his friends to say, listen, this is my wife, this is my woman, And I think if she had done that, she wouldn't be going through what she was going through, because she said until that outburst at the House of Assembly, according to Natasha, her husband did not know what was going on. So before you could know what was going on, Nigerians were demanding for proof. Nigerians were demanding for evidence. Even Very Dark Black Man said, listen, we've been trying to get Akpabio. Just give us one evidence. And we're going to march on the streets. We're going to hold Akpabio accountable. But we've been trying to get this man, but there's no evidence. If you say you have evidence, Natasha, just give us a little, so that we can hold on to and we know what we're doing. Natasha went to International Women's Conference, where she talked about sexual harassment, because at this point Natasha was now suspended for 6 months. According to the 6 months, they said 6 months is basically like a year suspension in the house. So she went to the women conference, International Women Conference. She laid her allegations. She said that Akpabio is trying to because she refuses advances, he's trying to kind of silence her. So that became an international issue. She went to BBC. She was Natasha. So even those that were now supporting Natasha was like, listen, Natasha, this is not an international issue. This is a national issue. If you're saying that you have evidence, bring this evidence. Just bring some of it. Even release some of it to the media. There are so many people who are trying to fight Akpabio that will jump on that and use it against, Akpabio. Just give us the evidence. Your husband and Akpabio are very good friends. I am very sure he knows some of those places where the bodies are buried. Give us evidence. Natasha could not provide evidence. Instead, Natasha came out and said that Akpabio is after her life. If anything happens to her, they should hold Akpabio responsible. And Akpabio's camp were not innocent. They tried impeaching Natasha. They got over 250,000 signatures to impeach her, which most of them, we saw videos online where they literally forged those signatures. People sat down in a room signing those forms. So we knew, or everybody knew, that those were fake. So INEC rejected the petition, because they said the signatures, there were no phone numbers, there were no addresses attached to them, so they cannot accept that. And then Natasha homecoming, she decided to do a homecoming. She was coming back to Kogi State after the whole international drama. She wanted to come back to Kogi State, and the Kogi State government literally shut down the whole state. No movement. Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha flew in with a helicopter to the event, or to the venue, and people were like, oh my god, this woman, she's fighting for justice, she's really doing well. But even at this point, there was no evidence. So many people were fighting for Natasha. Obi Ezekwesili was called upon to represent Natasha during a mediation between the Senate organized a mediation between Senate President and Senator Natasha. Obi Ezekwesili was the representative, and Akpabio had another representative. And when that was going on, Obi kind of said something to a red cap chief. I don't even know his name, but he's a red cap chief, and Obi told him to shut up, basically. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a showdown. This man was screaming, shouting, insulting. There was no name he did not call Obi. and Obi was just sitting down. After that, there was other media rounds, look at the way men are talking to women. It just became messy. And the whole idea of why Natasha was, the whole objective was for her to represent her people. And it just kind of lost with the whole drama that was going on, both international, both national. People were divided. It was men and women camp. Some people believed Natasha. Some people believed Gospel Akpabio. And then we're just sitting there minding our business, thinking, listen, at some point, these people are going to come to an agreement, there's something's got to give. And then there's this lady, Professor Mgbeke. She's on Facebook. I think she was a senator in Nigeria, or she kind of held some political positions in Nigeria before she left. She came out and started releasing evidence. She said that Natasha, when all this was going on, she supported Natasha. She was like, wow, why would, maybe, there's misogyny. That it's a man's world. I mean, there are over 100 senators in Nigeria, and just 4 of them are women. So something is going on. That women are being marginalized. She said when she heard Natasha's story, she was all out. She wanted to get into the whole thing to know exactly what's going on. But she was asking Natasha, where's the evidence? Give me evidence. He harassed you. He said, what? I want you to tell, for me to fight for you, because she was fighting for Natasha already online, but Natasha kind of wanted her to be on her camp, directly working with her. So Natasha contacted Mrs. Professor Mgbeke. So when that conversation was going on, Professor Mgbeke said she told Natasha that if she had to come out publicly and said, okay, she's working with Natasha, then Natasha will have to write her officially. She can be doing what she's doing on Facebook. She's not being paid. She's just doing that out of humanity. But she said if Natasha had to contract her to work with her directly, then she had to sign a contract, or she had to send her an official letter. She said Natasha did not send the letter. So Natasha called her and said that she wanted her to help her fight Senator Akpabio. She said that she's happy to do that, but she would need to hold on to something. She would need to hold on to at least an evidence. She said Natasha did not provide this evidence. She now called Natasha, or she said Natasha called during one of their numerous conversations. She asked Natasha, just tell me the truth. Was there sexual harassment in this case? Natasha said there was no sexual harassment, that she was just tired about the whole thing, that according to Professor Mgbeke, she shared a voice note. I mean, there were so many conversations. She shared voice notes where Natasha said there was no sexual harassment, that she just wanted to punish Gospel Akpabio. That she, according to Professor Mgbeke, she said that Natasha said that allegedly, that she wanted to disrupt the Yoruba government, which is basically Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and if she succeeds in doing that, they will put her as a governor in Kogi State, or as a minister of petroleum or mineral, something like that. So Natasha had her agenda. Nobody knows who is sponsoring her. Professor Mgbeke did not mention, but she said that Natasha allegedly said that she's being sponsored by other parties to disrupt Bola Ahmed Tinubu. She said she started asking Natasha to make peace, that since she doesn't have evidence, the only reason why she jumped on the course was because Natasha said there was sexual harassment. So she said that that was her driving force. But when, according to Professor Mgbeke, when she realized that there was no sexual harassment, she called Natasha to tell Natasha to pipe down, to make peace. There's no, since there's no evidence, there was no sexual harassment, you could make peace and then fight this fight in other different ways. She said Natasha refused, and Natasha came out and was claiming that she never knew who she was. So Professor Mgbeke literally came out and started providing evidence. She provided voice notes. She did a live video. I watched that and I was like, wow. Do you think that somebody is behind Natasha? Do you think that Natasha is being sponsored to bring down Akpabio? Or do you think that maybe Professor Mgbeke has been paid? I don't even know what to believe, because I heard some of those voice notes or voice messages or the recorded calls, and I can tell you Natasha has an agenda. Natasha has an agenda. Let me know what you think.